Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Bold and the Beautiful B&B spoilers for Monday, August 10th suggest that R.J. Forrester, Brian Nicoletti, will have an idea about who should replace Hope Logan Spencer, Annika Noel, now that she is no longer with Hope for the future. John Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, will also try to reach an agreement with Sheila Carter, Kimberlyn Brown. Finn is naturally nervous now that Sheila has discovered his travel information and he has been assigned to the seat beside him. This was supposed to be Finn and Steffi Forrester Finnegan's, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, opportunity to spend romantic time together in Monaco. Therefore he doesn't want Sheila to ruin the celebration. It's too late for Sheila to get off the plane, but Finn will try to bargain with her as their trip begins. Finn will point out that if Sheila appears unexpectedly, it will just exacerbate the situation with Steffi. That's why Finn will believe they should just keep Sheila's current move hidden. Finn would advise that Sheila take a trip back home soon they land, and in exchange, he will promise not to inform Steffi about anything. According to B&B spoilers, Finn's wish to keep Sheila and Steffi apart in Monaco will not be granted. Some mayhem will break out over the week of August 10th to 14th, so stay tuned for all the thrilling happenings. In the meanwhile, Steffi will be working. This trip to Monaco is primarily intended to strengthen Forrester Creations' position in the European market. Thus Steffi, Ridge Forrester, Torsten Kay, and Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang, will work hard to get an international advantage. Back in Los Angeles, Electra Forrester, Lania Grace, will don a beautiful gown and model it for RJ before inspiration strikes. RJ will think Electra is the ideal face and visionary for Forrester's upcoming youth line, so he'll propose the concept on Monday's show. Electra may have reservations about whether she's the appropriate fit, but RJ will highlight her beauty and talent. Forrester needs something new to replace Hope for the future, and RJ believes Electra should be the one to help make it happen. According to the Bold and the Beautiful teasers, Electra may have huge news to share soon, so stay into the CBS soap. Finn sat in the window seat of the first-class cabin, the low hum of the engines already rippling through the floor as the plane readied to take off from Los Angeles International. Outside the small oval window, the runway lights extended in long, pale lines against a hazy late afternoon sky. He had boarded early, purposefully selecting a seat so that Steffi would have the aisle when she joined him in Monaco. The strategy had been straightforward. A few days away from the never-ending difficulties of Los Angeles, a chance to stand in the same chapel where he had previously appeared to her like a ghost, and perhaps, if the timing was perfect, to reconfirm the pledges they had made under far more dire circumstances. He closed his eyes for a while, trying to imagine her expression when she saw him step back into the light. The recollection of that prior rendezvous lingered beneath his skin. Lee had led Steffi to believe he had died. Sheila's bullet had almost done the job. Nonetheless, they had managed to reunite. This journey was intended to be quieter, a private celebration of survival and the life that they were still trying to preserve. The seat beside him changed. Finn's eyes opened. Sheila Carter sat down as if the area had always been hers. She wore a soft gray travel dress and had a peaceful expression that contrasted with the cold not growing in his stomach. She tightened her seat belt with the same patient precision she used for everything, then turned to face him with a faint, almost regretful grin. "Hello, Finn." He gazed at her. The flight attendants were still traveling through the cabin, collecting the remaining boarding tickets. Nobody seemed to notice the mild earthquake that occurred in seat 3A. "What the hell are you doing here?" He murmured it under his breath. Sheila's smile didn't change. "I noticed the itinerary on your laptop when I came to the hospital. You left it open. Monaco. Same church. Same hotel. I thought it would be nicer if we arrived together." "You thought mistaken," Finn said quietly, conscious that the couple across the aisle was already staring over. "This trip is for Steffi and myself. You're not invited. You've never been invited." Sheila stared down at her hands. "I understand how she feels about me. I also understand how you feel. You keep telling yourself that you can cut me out totally. Yet something keeps you coming back. I am still your mother. You are the woman who shot my wife, Finn replied. That's the part that never changes. The jet started its ponderous taxi. Sheila waited until the engines increased in pitch before speaking again. I did not come to stir trouble. I came because I can't continue living on the outskirts of your life. Deacon has gone. The divorce is finalized. I have nothing left in Los Angeles other than the hope that one day you will allow me to be near you and Hayes. I figured if I showed you I could travel calmly and sit next to you without demanding anything, you'd know I'd changed. Finn turned completely toward her. Changed? You followed me on an overseas aircraft without permission. That isn't changing. That's the same fascination with nicer clothes. She didn't flinch. Then make a bargain with me. The word hovered between them like a third passenger. What a bargain! Sheila pushed in closer, hoping that the engines would muffle her voice. When we land, I won't approach Steffi. I will not speak with her. I will not even let her see me if I can avoid it. I'll catch the first flight back to Los Angeles that night. In exchange, you will not tell her I was on this plane. You do not tell her I followed you. Allow her to have the reunion she deserves without my shadow on it. If she never finds out I'm there, perhaps she'll soften enough to consider supervised visits someday. That is all I am asking for. A chance that does not begin with another fight. Finn felt the plane lift off the ground. The city disappeared beneath the wing. He glanced at the seatback screen in front of him without seeing anything. Every instinct prompted him to stand up, demand that the flight attendant remove her, and cause a commotion that would prompt the airline to interfere. But the realistic side of his thinking estimated the cost. Steffi was already in Monaco, waiting. If she discovered Sheila had sat next him for 11 hours, the entire journey would devolve into another argument. Before they even arrived at the motel, the delicate harmony they had been attempting to establish would be broken. You want me to lie to my wife, he stated. I want you to protect her from knowing something that will only hurt her, Sheila replied. There's a difference. He was silent for a long time. The cabin lights dimmed. The flight attendant offered champagne. Sheila accepted the glass. Finn waved it away. If I agree, he finally concluded, you stay on the plane after we land until I leave. You don't leave the airport. You don't step foot in Monaco. You turn around and head home. And you never pull a stunt like this again. Sheila's eyes were filled with something almost like gratitude. I can live with those rules. And if you breach them, Finn said, I'll tell Steffi everything. I'll inform the police. I will make certain that the only way you see me again is through glass. I will not break them, she replied. He didn't believe her. He had never truly believed her. However, the alternative was worse. He nodded once, a brief, quick motion that felt like signing a contract etched in smoke. The rest of the journey was spent in unsettling silence. Sheila slept for a few hours, her head inclined toward the window. Finn peered at the map on the screen as the small plane icon moved across the Pacific and then the Atlantic. He remembered Steffi standing in the church doorway, and how the light fell across her face when she realized he was still alive. He considered Hayes's little hand in his. He considered the long list of reasons why he should have declined the offer the instant it left her mouth. Finn felt the weight of the agreement land more heavily on his shoulders as the plane descended into Nice, the Mediterranean shimmering far below him. Sheila awoke, straightened her hair, and gazed at him with peaceful anticipation. Remember, he stated. You stay on the plane. I remember. He stood as soon as the seatbelt sign went off, grabbed his suitcase from the overhead bin, and walked away without looking back. He did not check to see if she followed. He convinced himself that the arrangement would hold because she needed him more than she needed the drama. He assured himself Steffi wouldn't have to know. Hours later, as Finn was still clearing customs and organizing the car that would transport him the short distance to Monaco, another story was happening 3,000 miles away in Forrester Creations' glass and steel buildings. Electra Forrester stood on the elevated platform in the design studio, the hem of her floor-length ivory gown murmuring on the polished wood. The gown was one of Zen's unfinished attempts, a gentle waterfall of silk and hand-beaded lace that caught every overhead light. R.J. Forrester gently circled her, tablet in hand, making notes with the pen as he went. "Hold still," he said. "The back should drop another inch. The line from the shoulder blades to the waist is nearly ideal, but it isn't quite right." Electra tilted her head slightly to see him in the mirror. "You've been saying that about every dress this week." "Because every dress this week has been almost perfect." R.J. paused in front of her, lowering the tablet. "Hope for the future is over." Hope made that apparent as she walked away. The company requires a new face for the younger demographic. Someone who understands what the following generation prefers to wear. Someone who doesn't carry 20 years of family conflict in every silhouette. Electra's reflection was unsure. "You're talking about me." "I'm talking about you." RJ's voice was calm and even compassionate. "You are already modeling. You already create jewelry that sells out in days. You're young enough to speak their language and talented enough to captivate their attention. I am not asking you to become Hope. I'm asking you to be the reason no one misses the old line." She gingerly stepped down from the stage, the gown pooling around her feet. "That's a lot of pressure." "It's a lot of opportunity," he clarified. "Look at the numbers. The last 3 Hope collections performed poorly among people under the age of 30. They want something sharper, like it belongs to them rather than their mothers. You can give them that. I will support you with the board. I'll allocate the entire marketing budget to the relaunch. All you have to do is say yes." Electra approached the big table, where fabric swatches lay scattered like fallen leaves. She grabbed a piece of deep emerald chiffon and let it flow through her fingers. "How about Will?" RJ's expression clenched for only a second. "What about him?" "We're still figuring things out." "You're figuring out that he isn't the person you thought he was," RJ stated. "And while you're figuring it out, the business is moving forward. You either go with it or stay still and watch someone else take the risk." She stared at him for a long time. The studio was quiet save for the gentle hum of the air conditioner. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Los Angeles skyline gleamed in the early evening sunlight. "If I say yes," she stated, "I want creative control. Not only the face, the direction, textiles, the message. I don't want to be a mannequin with a well-known surname." RJ smiled, his first genuine smile in days. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." He extended his hand. Electra hesitated for only a second before taking it. The agreement was reached with the same quiet certainty as one being made someplace over the Atlantic. Later that night, while Finn stood alone on a hotel balcony overlooking Monaco's bay, the yacht's lights mirrored in black water, he repeated the talk on the plane once more. He had bought silence with a vow he now regretted. Sheila had bought proximity with a lie, which she fully planned to retain for as long as it served her. In Los Angeles, Electra Forrester had taken on a job that had formerly belonged to Hope Logan Spencer, trading one type of uncertainty for another. The plane that had transported Finn and Sheila was already preparing for its return voyage. A woman in a gray outfit stood somewhere in the terminal, watching the departure boards and calculating how long she could afford to wait for the next opportunity to save money. The night in Monaco was only getting started, and the bargains struck thus far would not be the last before the week was finished. Finn stood in the dimly lit hallway of the Forrester home, the weight of the night crushing down on his shoulders like a silent indictment. The air had a slight aroma of polished wood and faraway perfume, but nothing could conceal the tension that had settled into the walls. He had arrived here after hours of frantic pacing, his thoughts racing through every imaginable scenario. Sheila Carter was not a woman to approach lightly. She was a hurricane that left devastation in its wake, and he had no option. The transaction he meant to make would either buy him a fragile serenity or cost him everything he still valued. He discovered her in the sitting room with the tall windows overlooking the gardens. Sheila sat with excellent posture, her hands folded in her lap, and her face was nearly tranquil, but it never reached her eyes. Those sharp, calculating eyes studied him from the time he walked in. "Dr. Finnegan," she said, the title flowing off her tongue with a mix of contempt and recognition. "I was wondering how long it would take you to get to me." Finn slammed the door behind him. "We need to talk." "We always do," Sheila answered. She pointed to the chair opposite her. "Sit. Bargains are best made face to face." He stood for a little longer before lowering himself into the chair. The leather crackled beneath his weight. Outside, the city buzzed slightly, a reminder that life went on outside these confines, even when their personal tragedies threatened to engulf everything. "I know what you want," Finn said. His speech was firm, but his pulse pounded in his ears. "Access. Proximity. A spot in this family again. You've made that clear enough." Sheila smiled thinly. "You desire safety. For Steffi. For the children. For yourself. You've also made that apparent." Finn remarked, "I want more than just safety. I want you out of their lives in whatever way that matters. But I also understand that walking away is not something you do. Not neatly. Not without leverage." She leaned slightly forward. "Then make an offer, Doctor." Finn took a slow breath and said, "I am listening." The phrases he had practiced were heavier now that they needed to leave his mouth. "I will arrange for limited, monitored contact. Controlled. On my terms. You are not to approach Steffi unless I tell you differently. You avoid the youngsters totally. In exchange, I will not seek every legal option possible to keep you locked out. I won't go into every shade you've left behind. We both know there are things that could come up if someone looked hard enough." Sheila's eyes furrowed, but her smile persisted. "You're offering me crumbs and calling it a feast. I'm offering you the only path that doesn't end with you isolated completely," Finn replied. "Or worse. You're familiar with the history. You know what people will do if they are sufficiently threatened." They both remained silent for a long time. The stillness stretched, filled with the ghosts of previous confrontations. Hospital rooms, courtroom threats, times when one or the other had the upper hand only to lose it again. Sheila had always had an almost miraculous level of resilience. Finn had always been the one who had to choose between principle and survival. "You love her," Sheila replied last, her voice quieter but no less deadly. "Steffi. You'd do anything to keep her. Even cope with me." Finn agreed. There was no point denying it. "And I will. However, this agreement has limitations. When you cross them, it comes to an end." Sheila looked at him intently. She then nodded once, a little yet exact movement. "I will evaluate your terms. But understand something, Finn. I do not disappear. I adapt. And if this arrangement fails, I will not be the one to lose all." He stood. The conversation had reached the limit of what either of them could endure without becoming ugly. "I will contact you with the specifics. Until then, stay away." Sheila watched him leave without saying anything. The door clicked shut behind him, and the beautifully prepared mask on her face changed into something colder and more determined. Bargains were just temporary. Ambition wasn't. Across town, in the glittering offices of Forrester Creations, the atmosphere was completely different, yet no less charged. The design floor buzzed with the typical bustle of fits, fabric swatches, and last-minute alterations, but there was a sense of disquiet in the conversations. Hope Logan's disappearance had become a source of silent suspicion. Some claimed she was taking time for herself. Others speculated that the pressure of the most recent campaign had finally worn her down. Few people knew the whole truth, and those that did kept it securely sealed. Electra Forrester glided through the space with quiet confidence that drew attention. She'd always had a natural presence that drew attention without demanding it, but today her posture was sharper, more intentional. The sketches under her arm were for Hope's new collection, which was based on delicate strength, fluid silhouettes, and the underlying sensuality that had distinguished her recent work. Ridge Forrester stood near the huge windows overlooking the city, arms crossed, watching Electra lay out the sketches on the long table. He had summoned her in that morning with little explanation other than that the collection required direction and hope was unavailable. Electra arrived without hesitation. "These are strong," Ridge stated after taking a close look at the drawings. "The lines were cleaner than I imagined. More architectural." Electra nodded. Hope's vision was wonderful, but it required evolution. "The market is moving. Softness alone will not get it through the next season. I've preserved the heart of what she started while adding structure." Ridge's eyes shifted to her face. "You are not just filling in." "No," Electra responded. "I'm taking her place for this collection. Least for now. The organization cannot wait for someone who may or may not return on time. And I can deliver." The words paused between them. Replacing Hope was not a minor message. Hope Logan had been the face of Forrester's more romantic, approachable brand for some years. Her absence left a void that some saw as an opportunity, while others saw as betrayal. Electra comprehended both perspectives. She also realized that hesitating would cost the organization more than the immediate suffering.